What's up, 7th graders? It's Mrs. Talati here representing Mrs. Servati. Today we are covering 9.1, which is circumference of a circle. Your essential understanding for today is I can find circumference of a circle. Probably find the circumference of a circle. Key terms, please take a second to write these down, and then I'm going to draw one circle and then label all the parts of the circle based on the vocab definitions. So the radius is a line segment with one endpoint. Actually, you know, I'll probably draw them as I read them because that might help some of you understand what it looks like. So can I make my circle bigger? Let's make it like that. Okay. So hopefully that's not too dark. But basically this says that if I have the, ooh, let's try yellow right here. Okay, there's the center of my circle, okay? So a radius is a line segment with one endpoint at the center of the circle and the other endpoint on the circle. Just know your radius can be anywhere on the circle as long as it touches the center and the edge of the circle. Sorry, my pen's not really calibrated. There we go, okay? Or the length of the segment. So basically, you can have a radius or radii. I don't even know how to say it. Radii would be the plural version. But basically, it's just half the diameter, okay? So the radius goes from the end point to the center of the circle. Or if you look at the diameter, I kind of jumped the gun on that one, is we take the radius, so if this is, ooh, we don't want to go that route. If this is the center of our circle, we now have the radius that goes to the center, right? The diameter goes through the center. So it goes from one end of the segment, or one end of the circle to the other end. And again, these can be anywhere as long as it crosses the center of the circle. So again, we can say that the whole thing is the diameter. And then if we go half, that's the radius. Okay, now don't get confused that if I have a line like this, that is not a radius or a circumference, or a radius or a diameter. That is what we call a chord. A chord is a line segment that touches two different sides of the circle, but it does not cross through the center, okay? So we never use the chord to solve anything in regards to radius, diameter, or circumference, okay? And then circumference is the distance around a circle. Somewhat like perimeter, but dealing with a circular edge, right? Or circular shape. So if this is our circle, we'll get an orange circle. Whoa, let's not go that route though. This would be our, why does it do that? I have a pen, oh, because I have the pen on the biggest setting, that might be why. So this would be the distance around, right? But it actually touches their circle, so we want to go on the distance. See how my tracing skills are a little off key. There we go. Okay, so please make sure you understand a radius touches the center and the end of the circle, a diameter goes through the center of the circle, and then the circumference is the distance around a circle. All right, so check it out. When we are talking about anything with circles, area or circumference, we use what we call pi. Now, Cervantes and I only require, well, let's see, does my calculator have pi on it? It doesn't. Dang it, I wanted to show you guys, because you guys know pi goes on forever, right? So we never want you to have to try and memorize the term, or the terms in the pi infinite number, if you will. So we are calling anytime we have you show the work and or punch it into your calculator without using the symbol, we only want or only need you to use 3.14. Now, this particular problem, I'm going to show you how that changes, is going to have you use 22 sevenths as pi, and I just want to show you that it really is no fun talking to myself in here. I mean, I just want to say it out loud. If I take 22 and I divide it, because fractions are division, by 7, you can see I get 3.14. Now, the time we want to use 22 over 7 is when we can easily cross cancel and reduce before solving. So if you never use 22 over 7 and you always use pi, you're not wrong. And then if you use 22 over 7 where applicable, then that works too. So here's what I need you guys to understand. The formula for circumference is 2 times pi times r, okay? So all we're going to do, and we'll go into the different ways to solve this, because I feel like sometimes we show you guys in a note taker one way, we forget that we know how to solve equations and solve it a different way. So I'll get there in a second. But we're going to look at a couple things. We're always going to funnel down. We show our formula, because when you guys notice, we're going to get through tons and tons and tons of different formulas that you have to know. It is in your best interest to write it down every single time, so that way you're not you're not forgetting anything, okay? So if I take circumference, 2 is standard in the formula. In this case, I'm going to use 22 over 7 for my pi. And then if you guys look at my radius, it is 14 over 1. Now, all I did was write those as fractions so that you can easily see why that 22/7 is valuable in this problem, is because if we look at the cross canceling, I can reduce this by 7, which reduces this by 2. That makes my new problem 2 times 22 times 2, which in this one would be 44 times 2, which is 88. Now, here's where I need 88 inches feet, or sorry, 88 inches feet. Circumference is approximately 88 feet. When we're using pi, everything's going to be approximate because of the cutoff of pi. But I also want to show you in this particular problem, if you were to use 3.14 times the 14, you guys are going to start to see that 2 times pi every single time is 6.28. Well, if I take that 6.28 and multiply it by 14, I get 2, 3, 11, 1, 25, x, 8, 2, 6, 2, 9, 7, 8. I move it in 2 places. You can see in this problem, when I use the 3.14, I got that my circumference is approximately 87.92 feet. So you guys can see how it does alter your answer a little bit, but that's why we use the approximate symbol A, and then B, really this 9 right here would make that 87 roll up to an 88, okay? So if the 22nd over 22nd sevenths, sorry, it's not a fraction, I'm normally, let's try this again. 22/7 is not a fraction that we're used to saying, and to be honest, it's not one that pops up a lot. 3.14 is pretty standard as far as pi goes. So again, if you forget that 22/7 is available, unless given to you in a problem, no worries about that. Okay, but basically a couple things I want you to understand. You do have to show your steps. You're going to see as we progress through some bigger formulas, it is very important to show every step so that you don't make minor calculations. And then again, for circumference, I should have done the approximate symbols all the way through, but your answer is never going to be exact because of the fact that we cut pi off at the 3.14. Okay, so that is just kind of your basic problem, a picture what the radius is, how to plug it in the formula. Again, that's circumference of a circle. So I recommend anytime that you guys have a word problem dealing with geometry that you draw it out if you can. So in this case, it's easy for me to draw a circular pond. Ooh, look at that circle. People, that is something for you to be proud of your teacher for. That's a good looking circle. So this one is a circular pond, has a circumference of 628 feet. A model boat is moving directly across the pond along a radius at a rate of 5 feet per second. So look, it says a model boat is moving directly across the pond along a radius. Here is my radius. At a rate of 5 feet. Sorry, I should have made my pen smaller because that is difficult to read. How long does it take the boat to get from the edge of the pond to the center? Now this one's going to involve one additional step, but I do want you, this is where we got to connect it back to the actual formula, okay? So we're going to use C equals pi times, or 2 times pi times r, okay? So again, write it out. Let me get so I'm going to write C equals 2 pi r. And if you guys use an equal sign and then in your answer you use an approximation symbol, that is absolutely okay. Because the formula is, and then when we plug it in, that's when we identify that it's approximate, okay? We know, so this is the difference here. So see how it told us the circumference of the circle? We are going to plug the circumference of the circle in for C. 2 is standard, pi is what we're using, and then the radius doesn't give us, it only gives us the speed, right? It's telling us that we go 5 feet per second. So we're going to say that this is r. So then I'm going to take my 628 is equal to 6.28 r. Now look at this is right back to a one-step inequality, a one-step equation. So in order to get that r by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by, oh goodness, let me pause this real quick. I got a phone call, hold on. Dang it, now it's not going to pause. Time blue. All right, kiddos, see now on the phone call, now I don't remember what I was doing. Oh, we're dividing the 628 by 6.28. Ultimately, this is a base of 10. So we can identify that there's 2 decimals after the 6, which makes it approximately 100. Okay, now this is the R though. So now we have to take into account that they're going 5 feet per second, so that ultimately just means that we're gonna take that radius. I shouldn't have labeled it right here. You know what? In fact, that's because what now that we can find is that because our radius is 100, let's do this. That's 100 feet, right? Now we're gonna say that when they go 100 feet and they're going at 5 feet per second, now it's gonna take them 20 seconds to cross the half of the lake or pond, okay? Sorry, this got all sized out. So again, drawing the picture, labeling it, kind of walking through, every time you guys write this formula, being able to plug in the variables that are given to you, it'll make your life a lot easier. And then you guys have 2 problems, your turn. Again, circumference is pretty simple. Enjoy it while you can. I'll see you on Monday.